The Dog and the Preacher. I once saw a dog who was locked in a cage. In its eyes I saw anger, in its heart I felt rage. In its cage I saw sadness, more embittered by years, abandoned, rejected, and covered in fears. Discarded and lonesome by owner and key, blinded by blankets, no vision had he. Dying in darkness while barking for light, its owner cared not for this pitiful sight. Alone in its cage onlookers passed by, no attention they paid to the pain in his eye. Although they heard weeping and yelping and cries, they failed to discern with their spiritual eyes that this dog had been broken, neglected by all, worse yet by his master, worse yet by her fall. Now one day a spirit and stranger passed by, and witnessed the hurt and the pangs of its cry. The dog was amazed and watched through the bars to see if this preacher could see all his scars. The spirit looked densely and deeper within to see if indeed if this soul they could win. And strangely enough, this preacher could see that prayer was needed for master, not he. What a discovery and what a surprise! The spirit had shown her through spiritual eyes. The truth in the owner, the truth of her ways. The dog she had battered and spiritually hazed. This dog which was broken and shattered and torn, the dog who had wished he had never been born. She stared in its eyes while praying in heart, groaning with grace God's love to impart. And as she went deeper, its owner passed by, trying to reverse her spiritual cry.
"What are you doing? No demon have I. Why beckon to notice my prisoner's sigh? What are you saying? No demon have we. Why wallow in prayer? Stop pleading for thee. Oh, what are you doing? What change do you see? What good is a prayer if no God has him he?"
The preacher stayed silent, fixated in prayer, and began to stare deeper in the enemy's lair. Now the dog had stopped barking, but had not the strength, so stuck it remained as her prayer grew length. And as she exulted in praise to her God, the owner relented and prayed to Magog. And so in the spirit they started to war, and lightning and thunder and stars I saw fall. 1/4 of the fallen I saw on her side, 1/4 of these fallen clothed only in pride. 1/4 of the fallen to death did they lie. 1/4 of the fallen from death did not hide, for death was the reason they hastened their ride. Yet still in brave glory no word she replied, as eyes remained locked on the captive inside. Shook not by the fallen which lay all around, shook not by the grumbles demonic in sound. Shook not by the evils awaiting her doubt, for surely that moment would have taken her out. But fervent in prayer, persistent was she, for she knew that the devil would soon have to flee. She knew that the evil could not remain in the presence of glory whilst hearing his name. She knew that the owner would give up the key, that key which held bondage for you and for me. And so she relinquished and gave up the key, and barking and jumping the dog became free. He hounded and panted, running out of his cage, for he suddenly knew that his soul had been saved. The bars which once held him were melted away. The hurt he once kept had no place to stay. The bond of this bondsman was broken alas, and now he could see what his mind could not grasp. He looked in the preacher, no words had him he, but she understood, in the spirit did she. And as she departed with God in her eyes, the fallen around her looked on in despise. No army around her, just witness at side, and the name of her Saviour to whom she had died. The dog and the preacher switched places, you see. But yet, through the Savior, they both became free. Thank God for the Jesus who suffered for me.